The question of what exactly is in the Epstein files and why Donald Trump won't release them isn't going away, no matter how desperately he tries to change the subject. It's been a seesaw affair from the start, with Trump promising to release all the Epstein files during his 2024 presidential campaign if reelected. But very little has been released since victory, and certainly nothing new. Then in May, the Wall Street Journal reported that Attorney General Pam Bondi briefed President Trump that his name appeared in the Epstein files several times, though being mentioned in the Epstein files is not a sign of wrongdoing. But in an explosive claim in June, as the bromance of the world's most powerful man and the world's wealthiest man soured, Elon Musk posted on X, "Time to drop the really big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT." He later deleted the post and said some of his comments went a little too far, but it's not going away. This month, top officials at the U.S. Justice Department dismissed releasing more documents concerning Epstein, saying it could harm victims and insisting there was not a, quote, client list. However, on July 17th, Trump posted on Truth Social, quote, "Based on the ridiculous amount of publicity around Epstein, I have asked Attorney General Pam Bondi to produce any and all pertinent grand jury testimony subject to court approval. This scam perpetrated by the Democrats should end right now." And just this Wednesday, a judge in Florida denied the Justice Department's request to release the transcripts because of the secrecy of grand jury proceedings. Meanwhile, the House Oversight Committee has voted to subpoena the Justice Department for the Epstein files. Joining us now to break it all down is Jake LaHutte, senior writer for Wired, and Philip Bump, former national columnist for the Washington Post. So thanks for being with us. It's not like we don't have anything juicy to discuss. I guess I'm going to start with you, Philip.
Sure.
Where is this going? Where do you see this heading in this dead month, the slowest month for news around the world, and especially in Washington, August, and there's a big Epstein-sized hole to fill now?
Sure. Well, I mean, where Trump is going is Scotland to play golf, so good for him. But, you know, where the whole conversation is going, the fascinating thing about it is that Donald Trump has been stoking it, right? Like, he keeps making moves which are causing it to be in the, oh, release the grand jury thing. Okay, well, now there's a legal fight that, of course, is going to go badly. And, of course, there's going to be analysis showing that that's the one thing you can do to try and keep everything hidden. Like, the fact that he hasn't figured out how to just let this lay, part of it is that he's constitutionally incapable of not having the spotlight on him. And so part of him is like, well, they're talking about me, right?
Well, and it's killing him right now, too.
Right.
He just had an insane Truth Social post that basically is saying that Democrats broke the law during the election and people like Beyonce need to be arrested and prosecuted.
Right. This from a guy who...
So does that seem like a little bit of a stretch to anyone here? Beyonce? I mean...
Well, you know, the thing is, he has actually made a promise of going after his, like, perceived cultural and political enemies. So in that sense, it is something interesting to pay attention to. It does feel, though, like it's just one more thing on a list of things he's tried to throw out there, like to distract as best as he possibly can. The Obama treason thing being the biggest one of the past week. But even that, his base doesn't really seem to be into it. Jake, I mean, what do you make of that? Are you surprised at the extent to which his, like, core audience refuses to let this thing go and to buy the distractions that he's thrown their way?
No, not at all. I mean, the expectations have just been set way too high and stoked for way too long. Also, I do want to add what Philip said here. I mean, yes, it's always been a central tenet of Trump's personality that he really can't let himself not be the center of attention. However, in my spare time, I like to watch the 2016 presidential debates. And I recommend that some of your viewers
That's how you spend your weekends before you come here to our show.
I'm real fun to hang out at the parties. But he does not have that kind of verve and ability to, like, tear someone apart. I think the Jerome Powell clip is a great example of that, where he was caught a little flat-footed. I mean, I had to think about the moments with Jeb Bush when he was like, Jeb Bush was like, hey, don't talk about my mother on stage. And Trump was like, maybe she should be running instead. He doesn't have that juice anymore. And I think that just like we saw that Joe Biden wasn't the Joe Biden we saw in those debates, nor is Donald Trump any longer. And the people around him are just trying to keep this above water right now.
You have the Elon Trump breakup. And it happened, and everyone said a lot of tech bros were like, they're going to get back together. You saw a lot of really thirsty tweets that were like, Elon didn't mean it. He deleted it. You know, the all-in bros was just delicious watching them try desperately to get Trump to love Elon again. There's billions of dollars at stake here.
Yes, absolutely. And crucially, billions of dollars. Well, I'd say the high tens of millions for J.D. Vance in terms of his position in the 2028 presidential primary. But, you know, in my recent newsletter this week, I wrote about the difference between the kind of like upper tier billionaires like a Peter Thiel, you know, a Larry Ellison. They're playing the long game. They're playing a lot of moves. And, of course, Larry Ellison's son, who no one can remember his name because he will always be known as Larry Ellison's son for Paramount. Like, that's clearly effective for them. There are things going on the AI landscape that are effective for them. But there are these other little fissures and splits popping up on other kind of subsectors of that economy.
Billionaires.
Yeah. And I was talking to these Republican strategists who are basically saying, like, they're trying to make this pitch to the Silicon Valley, you know, donor wing of the party to say, look, like, we know that from your kind of venture capital disruption mindset, these may not look like very safe bets on the midterms, but like, be a team player, spread it far and wide, give to Mike Johnson's PAC, which, by the way, Peter Thiel did. And I don't think that this is going to be holding up as, you know, swimmingly as they had thought coming into, you know, at least January this year.
But this is such a very interesting conversation from a perspective of legacy, because Donald Trump is someone who, he won a presidential election, he lost a presidential election, he got indicted, and then he got, you know, he's been impeached, he's been up, he's been down, we've watched this, so on and so forth. So what is the ultimate impact of this conversation if it doesn't result in some massive sort of trial and conviction or discovery, if it kind of sort of ends up being another nothing burger, as other things have been described? What is the end result that this has on his legacy, or does it register at all?
I mean, I think that there are all sorts of conspiracy theories which have existed and faded, right? This one is different in part because Donald Trump controls the ability to resolve it to some extent, to the extent it can be resolved, and because he's intimately tied to Epstein, right? I think there is a decent chance that for 10 years ago, he announced his candidacy. For 10 years, people ignored the fact he was tied to Epstein. We've known about this. Gawker broke this story in 2015, 2016, right? Like, we've known about this for a long time, and he's skated, right? I think there was a chance that he could have just let it fade into the background again and had people be mad about it, but get them focused on other things. I think he's doing all of the wrong things by keeping it alive, by continuing to stoke it, by getting mad about it, by literally telling legislators, don't talk about that, talk about Obama, right? It's like, everyone sees through that, and I think that's going to be the problem. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a before and after here. We coined it in the newsletter as basically BE and P, before Epstein and post Epstein. That, you know, right now this is just a break of trust in the base, and even if that approval among Republicans stays rather steady, this sticks in the back of people's minds.
Speaking of a break in trust, I want to play some sound from podcast king Joe Rogan and get your reaction on the other side.
Right. The Epstein stuff is so crazy because when Kash Patel was on here and he was like, there's nothing. And I was like, what are you talking? Yeah. I didn't even know what to say. My thought was, and people are like, why didn't you push back more? My thought was like, I'm just going to put this out there and let the internet do its work because there's nothing I can. The guy's saying there's no tapes, there's no video. That doesn't make any sense. Everyone knows it doesn't make any sense.
Jake, is there a real political vulnerability here in that, like, part of what put him over the edge was that he was able to get a lot of guys, and some women, but a lot of it is sort of these men, very young men, who kind of came into politics and came to Trump through like a lifestyle content association. Like, they were kind of vibing out with Joe Rogan and they sort of like accidentally became MAGA. They weren't like diehard back in 2015. I'm like driving from North Carolina to Oklahoma to go to one of your rallies kind of Trump fan. So is he at risk of losing those people because he's kind of made them look dumb?
Yeah, I mean, for one, these are not like reliable midterm voters to begin with. I mean, there are a lot of like guys my age who dabble a little bit in crypto. They listen to Rogan, but they're also gonna buy their girlfriend Plan B, and they would consider themselves maybe more socially liberal. They may not remember a kind of pre-Trump era. I mean, I was a junior in college when he came down the escalator. I was still in college when he got elected. So
that doesn't. No, don't do that.
Don't do what?
No, you're young. Okay.
I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I'm very offended.
Please forgive me. Please forgive me. But the point I'm trying to make is these fellas, right? they have been paying attention, but they were coming at it from maybe a more kind of like, let's say the tech community, a kind of libertarian, what they would want to consider an apolitical kind of vantage point. And now they're looking around at all this stuff and they're being like, oh, man, I mean, maybe I made a mistake. And it's hard for anyone to admit that to themselves out loud. But at the very least, like, not helpful for enthusiasm in the midterms. And then I think the bigger problem that we should really focus on in the long run is 2028.
Well, the point you're making, essentially, if I can distill it, is that these are people who are just sort of anti-institutional, right?
Yeah.
They're anti-trust in government, they're anti-trust in everyone. Trump was the candidate for that, and now they're able to see Trump as like another person who they can ignore. And I think that's part of the challenge.